welcome. This is a direct message, not necessarily an episode in its own right, to podcast listeners, to Vox Pop listeners and subscribers on YouTube. And we've got two previous guests who have agreed to join me for a short conversation based around what we've been talking about in those independent interviews. I'll put a link to both of those interviews with Claire and with Flora at the end of this video. So if you want to go and listen to those longer and more expansive discussions, then you can do so. But we thought we'd have a little bit of a chat about the coming winter, what we think might be going to happen, and how best we can react to that, deal with it, plan for it. So without further waffling, first of all, welcome Flora.
Hello.
And welcome to Claire.
Hello.
Hello. Right. So I suppose it's worth just setting up that if you're a regular listener to this podcast, which has only been going for a few episodes, then you probably know that the big topic which has been discussed a lot, both on this podcast and on many others, is obviously the whole 18 months worldwide sort of pandemic situation, the government reaction to it, and the civil liberties side of things, which has become more and more of a concern to more and more people as this ridiculous scenario has continued. If you believe that the vaccine is the cure-all, I can't really see why we are still going through what we're going through in terms of threats of further lockdowns and vaccine passports and everything else. So, Flora, what's your view on where we are now, first of all, in terms of the current state of play with the government and how they're still reacting to the situation?
I think I've always said, well, since we knew about vaccine passports coming down the track, I think they are determined to bring them in. And I think the way they'll do it is they'll say, well, because we don't want to lock down again, we're going to have to bring in vaccine passports. So hospitality, if you want to stay open at full capacity, I'm afraid you're going to have to bring in vaccine passports. Otherwise, you're going to have to go back to social distancing and all of the other things that you were doing before, and you won't be able to be at full capacity. So I really hope I'm wrong. Everything is all the data is pointing in the wrong direction for them. So I think they'll have trouble justifying it. But, they've got the media to back them up, haven't they? So I think we've got to get through this winter. I'm still convinced they're going to bring them in. I really hope I'm wrong.
Yes, well, I think that's my view too. Claire, where are you on this? Are you like mind?
Flora has just summed up exactly what I've been thinking all along. I think they're going to use, we've already seen the threat, 60,000 flu deaths in the winter and all of this nonsense. And I fully expect, because I think they know that there'd be such a pushback to another lockdown. And quite rightly, I do think that it's pointing in the direction of vaccine passports being introduced for the winter months. And like you say, all the measures in place if they don't. And obviously, if businesses want to stay open, they're going to adhere to that, aren't they? But thankfully, I've got one or two places up my sleeve that won't be getting involved in that nonsense, so that's good.
Good. Well, that is good news. Well, my brother has long been of the view that, and we've discussed this personally or privately, that they were basically using the smokers, the anti-smoking ban. The smoking ban in the pubs, etc. They were using that template for this. In other words, they're going to throw the responsibility for enforcing all of this onto small businesses or onto businesses generally. And that's obviously being done with care homes at the moment with their employees. It's being done in the States. And then, of course, I see it being done with pubs that are desperate because they've been nearly broken anyway. And so that they'll get the pubs to enforce vaccine passports on their customers, so and on their staff. So yeah, I think we're all of like minds. Basically with that as the starting point, if you're not aware of how important what is happening is and how dangerous it is, then I suppose why would you consider this winter to be any different to any other winter? And why? Because you're just in blissful ignorance, aren't you? So I wanted to set that up, that if you're listening to this podcast, if you've stumbled across this podcast somewhere and thinking, what are they talking about? What are this winter of 2021? It's really
let's call it our winter of content rather than our winter of discontent. We'll make it a winter of content.
Yes, a winter of content. So it's how we deal with this based on the fact that we are all concerned about what is happening to, well, the world and our country, Great Britain, the UK, and so that is to sort of set it up. So without waffling anymore, we know each other largely through Twitter. So Twitter has been a platform we've been able to use. Don't know how long for, obviously. Other ways of staying connected and making connections might be a good place to start. Flora, would you like to sort of lead off with that?
I think I've been desperately trying to tell people, go to your nearest stand in the park, and I do it a lot on Twitter. You know, you come across these tweets where people are like, oh, I'm at the end of my tether, I can't cope anymore, and I'm just like, please go to your nearest stand in the park. And I didn't go for a while. I was like, oh, stand in the park, I don't know. And then I was in a real dip, and I thought, I've just got to go and try and find people that think along the same lines as me. And I went for my first stand in the park, I think was it June, and instantly I came away and I just felt so joyful that I get this love, and they're a lovely group of people, really lovely group of people, all ages. Some of them are quite elderly, actually. All ages. They come from all walks of life, all political views, but we've got this in common. And it just is such. It's really, until you do it, you don't really realise the joy you get out of connecting with people who are on the same page as you, and how you can all just rant about the same things, and then also look at all the positive things as well. Because it's not just about standing in the park and people from the stand in the park. And I know Claire's probably going to elaborate on this a bit. We've now got a group where we are really active. We do things, and we don't just go and do the active things to try and mitigate what's going on. You know, as you know, we've done the sort of notice to schools and things like that. But we have a full moon party every month as well. So there's also the downtimes and the joyful partying stuff as well. So I would say, do go to your nearest stand in the park and connect with people. If you've been thinking about it and you haven't done it yet, do it. Before winter comes, do it now, as soon as you can. Every Sunday, 10 till 11, find your nearest stand in the park and go. And the other thing is the Libertarian drinks. That's another really good way of connecting. I know there aren't loads of them at the moment, but you can start your own. And obviously Dick Dellingpole, I think, is there a link on his Twitter page? I don't know.
I think it's
is it?
Yes, I know that they're quite keen. It's still Libertarian Drinks. It's either .com or .org. I'll put the link in the description to this video. But I think he's also been keen to stress that whilst initially it was sort of people of a libertarian persuasion, that I think politically it's a fairly open place to be now. I think they get all sorts, was his sort of description of it. So I haven't actually yet been to my first one, but I will be going in December to the one outside Worcester. But I don't think I think if you're listening to this and you think, well, I'm not, that's not my sort of political side of things, I don't think you should be put off by that, because I think it's more a matter of connecting with people that share similar concerns on this point, and I think it's an enjoyable night out as far as I can tell. So
and he set it up, didn't he? But because it was about crossing that political divide again. It was about doing what we always used to do, which is being able to sit and chat with people with different opinions and listen and respect each other's points of view. I mean, that's what I think Libertarian Drinks is all about, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that seems to be working quite well. Claire, we spoke a few weeks ago, and I know you've been very busy at doing lots of stuff. You've got some pretty big groups.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, so like Flora said, Stand in the Park has been amazing for us as a group, because we started with our sort of little Stand in the Park, our local group with about 20 people, and we did a little tour of the county. So we've kind of connected all the group, everybody from every group together, all in one place. We've got a Telegram group where we all chat. There's over 600 people in there now, which is brilliant. And it's not just people from the stands, it's people that we've kind of, people that we've connected with when we've been out on the roadside demos. Sorry, I'm going to call those petitions from now on, because I believe that's the legal word, isn't it?
Right.
That allows us to do it. So the roadside petitions that we've been doing, like last weekend was amazing. We had a gentleman that was out doing his shopping, just nipping to Sainsbury's, saw us guys stood along the road with the yellow boards, came and had a chat with us. And we were sat in the pub afterwards and like, where's this chap come from? And apparently he'd literally sacked his shopping off, stayed with us, ended up in the pub with us afterwards, and he's been part of the tribe ever since. He joined the protest on Saturday. We had a record turnout. I think it was over 60 people on Saturday, which was amazing. And that's because, we're sort of spreading the word. I mean, I'm actively putting it out there on Twitter saying, look, I need local bodies, local people to come and join us. We even had a guy from the estate, where we were doing the demo on Saturday. He came out with his own leaflet, saw what we were doing. He was like, I've been waiting for somebody to do this. And he joined us. So we ended up with over 60 people there on Saturday, which was just fabulous. And the reception was so good. Very, very positive, more sort of positive responses than negative. And just being seen, people seeing, like this guy said, I saw you last week when you were up at Troon Way outside the Sainsbury's, and he said, I wanted to get involved, but I didn't know how to. So all these people now are sort of joining what we call the tribe, and just connecting with people. And, like you say, just people finding us because we're there, and they were like, I didn't know there was anybody doing this, and I thought it was just me. So it's just been amazing. I mean, just like Flora said, get to your stand in the parks, connect, create your own network, get out there, do things actively in your community, and raise awareness.
Well, Claire, you're in Leicestershire.
Yeah.
Flora's in the southwest.
Yeah.
I'll put if you send me, if I haven't already got it, if you send me through the Telegram link and bits and pieces that you want to advertise, and I'll put those in the description section of this on YouTube, so that people can click through and contact you if they're in those areas. But obviously they can go and stand in the park, in their local park. When you first went to your first stand in the park and you wandered into the park, excuse me, from a practical perspective, how did you deal with that? Because you walk in, I don't know if you went on your own or whether you went with somebody else, but you rock up in the park and there's presumably a group of people looking a bit furtive in the corner somewhere.
I wouldn't say looking furtive. Ours has got a great big smiley. Well, I first saw a big smiley yellow face flag, and they wear yellow. I don't have anything yellow.
I don't do yellow either. It's not my colour.
No, it's not my colour. But
So
yeah, how does your group make itself obvious, Claire?
Well, it wasn't immediately obvious to start with, and kind of, I knew the guy that was going there, and I rang him and I was like, right, where are these people? I've no idea. So I did find them, and the only thing that sort of identified it was a group of people standing very close together. So that kind of gave it away a little bit.
So maybe a bit furtive.
Yeah, but no, they were, they weren't immediately obvious. But as we've connected and we've got bigger and we're more sort of, we are very proud about what we're doing. We've actually made a sign up. It's a big yellow board, and it's got all the stand in the parks in Leicestershire on it. So if people walk past and they wonder what it is, it's there. They know.
That's great.
So we are very proud. We are loud and proud. We're there with the flag.
You sound a lot more organised than we are.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, we're all over it at the minute, Flora. No stopping at the moment.
I need some tips.
No, you're more than happy to come and visit us and spend a weekend with us and see what we're doing.
I'd love to do that. Yeah,
anytime.
Well, I know. I mean, if you go to your Twitter feed, Claire, there's a lot of videos and all sorts of stuff on there of the stuff you've been doing recently, which is really quite encouraging to see, because you do get a lot of support, people driving past, papping the horn and all the rest of it. So no, I was very impressed when we spoke the other day at how large the groups were that you'd managed to bring together of people. It just, I think, illustrates that there's a growing awareness amongst people that aren't necessarily on social media, or if they are, they're not too outspoken about what's happening. And I think there is a general feeling. I mean, I might be projecting this from my own views on things, but I do think that from speaking to what I now term normies, but members of my family and things that aren't into it, even they are now looking at it and going, "This is ridiculous. What's happening?" You know, there's a new, supposedly sort of manufactured crises of one sort or another every night on the TV, which I don't watch, but they do. So I think, you know, that there is there's a lot of people out there looking to, as you say, not feel that they're going mad, basically, to actually talk to people and get, you know, just check themselves, perhaps.
I think the booster shots are also having, I mean, from what I see from the data, the sort of slope off from people who had a first jab to then a second jab, that sort of drop off. And now I know loads of people that have said, well, I'm not having a booster. I'm not having a booster. I've had the 2 jabs, I'm not having a booster.
Well, I think a lot of people probably just think, well, it either works or it doesn't. So,
Yes.
you know, how long are we going to have? Otherwise, they're realizing they're going to be on a subscription of, you know, 2 jabs a year.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, okay. Well, we could talk about that. Let's try and stay away from that. But
No, we're doing the positive stuff, aren't we?
we are indeed. So we've got some connecting. So stand in the park, 10 a.m. every Sunday. Go and try it out. Yeah, there's probably, more than likely, if there's one in your park, then they should be visible. Probably with some sort of, well, either wearing yellow or not, but with a group. There should be a group. And, go and ask them. I suppose, what's the worst that can happen? Just hope, as long as it's not, you know, it could be the wrong sort of group. Don't go to a car park, go to a park, because otherwise you might find you're standing in the wrong sort of group. You're both far too innocent to get that
I've only
reference.
just got that.
I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're talking about, Sam.
So I've heard about it on Twitter. It's terrible. So that's that. And then we had the third Wednesday, or the Libertarian Drinks, which, as the title doesn't always get right, because it's not always on a third Wednesday. But I know, Flora, is yours on a different date?
Ours is a third Tuesday.
Just to be difficult. Yes. Okay.
Well, it's but I think I've set a trend because lots of other people are being difficult now as well. So poor Dick is having real trouble herding us all into a third Wednesday.
So as long as whatever your area is, it might be on a third Wednesday, it might be on a second Tuesday, it might be on whatever. But again, if you look on the website, I'll put the link in the description under this video. And
if you're on Twitter, keep an eye on Dick Dallingpole's Twitter feed as well, because he puts out the rebellious non-third Wednesday groups.
Yes, he shares everything there. So yes, if you're not following Dick Dallingpole already, then worth doing so. For the interesting and funny posts as much as anything else. But anyway, so that was that. Obviously, there's the active. What am I trying to say? What did you call it? The
Practical. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Claire was saying about what was the legal thing you were calling them?
Petitions.
Petitions.
I believe that's the word you're supposed to use if you ever get approached by the police. So you're not demonstrating, you're not protesting, you are petitioning.
Right. Okay. So that is the petitions, which is with the boards on the side of the road and trying to raise awareness, largely against vaccine passports, isn't it? That's the primary. Am I right in saying that's the primary concern that you're trying to address?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, which, if you don't know why you should be concerned about vaccine passports, I don't really know where to start. That's probably, you need to do some investigations, but basically it's not about health control. It's not about health policy. It's about control of your freedoms, and it's a very
we're the virus that they want to control.
Yeah, exactly. So it's so if you, I'm sure most people listening to this would be of like mind, but if you're not, that's some for another wet evening to go and do some Googling and scare yourself half to death. So
at what point would that become at what point would a vaccine passport morph into a social credit system? It is
in an instant. In an instant. They've been talking about carbon credits for a long time, and that, I'm positive it would feed into that.
Absolutely.
Well, today, 12th of October, today I've seen announced that they are changing I think they're linking MOTs and driving licenses, and they want to make them digital. And of course, that information would also go on to your driving license, any other licenses and permits that you're required to have for whatever it is. It's going to be everything from having a bank account to driving a car to going on holiday to travel to getting a job to paying your tax to everything will be linked to this. It's
the way around that is not to register anything. As soon as you register something, they own it.
Yeah,
so,
I think
that's another podcast. I think that's a leaderless resistance podcast.
we could, I'm sure we could fill a whole hour and a half with that, possibly.
Oh yes, we could.
Yeah. Which we haven't got the time to do, so we'll stay away from that. But yeah, that is why you are doing what you're doing, and why it's important if you feel strongly enough to get involved and to connect with like-minded people, and that's two ways that you can do it. Have you both got Telegram accounts as well?
Yes.
Flora?
I think I just follow other Telegram accounts. No, I must have a Telegram account. Yes, of course I do. I'm not very technical.
I have to admit, Telegram, I haven't really fully worked Telegram out yet, because I've obviously got a Telegram username, but then you can have streams. It's a bit like pages and groups, I think, isn't it, on Facebook? Is it similar to that? So
you can have chats and you can have channels.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think I don't know. But if you're on Telegram, then that's another way of doing it, and it's probably a little bit less likely to get you censored or erased than if you're on Twitter, which is a fairly precarious platform to be on, unless you are towing the party line on everything. Any other ways of staying connected that you guys, girls, are keen to promote?
Well, we've suggested. Oh, go on, Flora.
Sorry, Claire. I just wanted to carry on from where Claire left off, actually, with the whole petitions and the legal term of that. If you get any hassle from the police, I just thought it'd be really useful to let people know about peacekeepers.org.uk are doing a free course on basically teaching people how the old Pelian principles of policing. So we, as ordinary people, can take back the policing of our own streets lawfully. And it's really useful. I do know a bit of law. I started a law degree a few years ago, so I've got a bit of background in law, and it's a really good course giving you a solid foundation in how the law works and how to take control of a situation if you are approached by the police. So I would highly recommend that. Learn the law.
It's how they use language against you as well, isn't it? That's another interesting thing, and how to respond when you're approached by a police constable. And I think it's always important to remind them that they are a police constable.
Absolutely.
It definitely, a little bit of basic knowledge about common law is really useful. In fact, a group of us recently, just last Friday actually, we did a common law constable course. So a few of us will be getting cards and uniforms and that kind of caper, and going out into the community and supporting businesses if they get any hassle, in the event that there is a lockdown or anything else. So helping people that are sort of maybe victimized.
So that's another way of connecting again, isn't it, on a really practical level? So actually a practical level of connecting with people, and also just from a confidence perspective, I think if you know the law, you feel much more confident in how you hold yourself and speak if you're approached by the police.
I'm almost willing myself to get accosted by a constable.
It's good practice. It
really is.
Yeah.
The best bit is when we've been doing these petitions, these roadside things, and obviously we're out every weekend, and we are getting a bit of a reputation now. People know about us, and the police invariably, I think just about every week now they've turned up, and you've got a couple of them walking along the line, and they're like, who's the organizer? And we're like, well, actually there is no organizer, we just turn up. But the best bit is the organizer is actually an ex-policeman, so there you go.
Good. That is good. Yeah, so again, it's just something. I just think it's really important bit of information to have. Know the law, And the way you're using it, Claire, up there, you're using it again in a way of connecting with local people and local businesses and things. So
yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, and I mean, I've always been of the view that, well, it sounds very aggressive, but I mean, I think if you do get yourself into a position where they decide that they're going to do what they do best and clap you in irons and take you away, then I think I've always been given advice by friends of mine who are in the legal profession to just don't say anything. So
no, use your right to remain silent.
Yeah, absolutely. So once you've been, if you are lifted, I mean, I think probably there's generally, for the sort of thing that you're doing, I suspect that there's reasonably goodwill there. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, I don't suppose they've been too heavy-handed, have they, with you?
We've had some real successes down in this part of the country with police actually serving the notices for the different groups in the schools.
Right. So that's
yeah.
Claire,
some schools that have kicked up a fuss and called the police have actually then served the notices on the behalf of the groups that have been trying to serve them on the schools, on the heads. So
right. Well, that's good. Claire, have you had any problems with the police yet?
I think I got told off last weekend for walking in the road to give somebody a leaflet. that's about as bad as it's got. But I mean, largely they've been really quite good, and they've sort of turned up and said, well, we're here for your safety, and that kind of thing. And for example, well, on Saturday, which was quite interesting, a police van sort of pulled up at the roadside, and the guys got out, and my other half sort of approached them and said, oh, do you mind me asking why you're here? And he said, we've had complaints from some neighbours that you're standing out and you're creating noise with obviously the traffic going past and beeping. And he said, to be honest, I'm getting a bit sick of these sheep moaning about you lot.
Wow.
That's good.
It was a great response. I'm not sure he really should have said that, but he did.
Well,
so.
No, that's good.
I like the way he used the word sheep.
Yes.
So okay, so there's several different things that you're doing and that people might want to join in with. So then, if you're not doing any of that, or if you are, but things are going to go on top of you a bit, and you want to keep your spirits up and keep positive and do positive stuff. Starting with you again, Flora, ideas on that?
Well, I would say, I mean, I think we've all had times in our lives where we've been a bit sort of down and fed up. What's got me through in the past is, probably sounds a bit daft, but first of all, slowing down. I mean, I was the sort of person that did everything at a rate of knots, so I would get through things really quickly, and I found that just slowing everything down and making things last a bit longer took a bit more time, so you were occupied for longer, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so sort of slow your day down in bite-sized chunks, I would say, and plan it out if you have to, which sounds really daft. I know how daft that sounds, but chunk it down into like 15 minutes. It'll take you 15 minutes to do that, and half an hour to do that, and that'll take me 45. And you'll be surprised how quickly the day will fly if you're going through a bit of a dark patch. But the other thing that helps, I think, if you need to turn to things to help you, is St. John's Wort, which is
you broke up there for me, but St. John's Wort, did you say?
Yeah, St. John's Wort, but not the tablets, the liquid dropper. You just put a couple of drops in your tea or coffee, and it really takes the edge off any sadness or slight feelings of down that you might be feeling. So St. John's Wort is really good. And herbal sleeping things like Calms, they do a nighttime one and a daytime one. They're very good.
So this is all. These are basically, I suppose, what would you call them? Herbal
remedies, really. Yeah, herbal remedies.
Okay.
And I'm the sort of person that will write lists. Write down all the, before you get to the point, write down all the stuff that you really enjoy doing. So when you do feel yourself going into a dip, you can look at the list and you've got something that you think, well, I can do that today. It's just very obvious stuff. I mean, I like growing things. I know not everybody does, but what really helped me as well was growing things. I know in the winter that doesn't seem like a very practical thing to do, but at the start of this year, when I was having a real down period, and I thought I've got to grow something, and I just grew some mustard and cress, which sounds really daft, but it's amazing how much better I felt seeing something growing, which is really silly.
That's
but I
not
did.
something I can't. I probably can't. I can't grow anything. I'm horrendous at that sort of thing. But no, it is therapeutic for if that's what helps you, then definitely that sort of thing. And it also depends, I think, on whether you work from home or whether you have a busy work day meeting lots of people, doesn't it? Because I work from you know what I do, but I sort of do bits and pieces. But when I'm in the UK, I work from home, and I might not see anybody for 2 or 3 days or longer at a time. So because I live alone as well, so really, I think that's when you can be susceptible to if you're constantly worrying about things you can't really control or you don't feel you can control. That's when you can get yourself into if you're a little bit minded that way anyway, sort of deep thinker, or you get yourself down in the dumps. I think that can get people into trouble. So, which is one of the reasons I thought about this. I'm generally okay in my own company, but I know a lot of people probably suffer a bit. Claire, do you what's your daily? Are you daily around people a lot, or do you work from home?
No, not really. I'm working from home currently. Right. So I'm sort of locked away in my office from sort of 9 to 5. I've got a family around me, which does help, and I've got my dogs. So, I try to sort of get out at lunchtime for a walk and, blow the cobwebs off a little bit. But for me, one of my biggest stress busters is thrashing it out in the gym. So I'm in the gym a lot at the minute, and that kind of helps me mentally and physically. Does help me to sleep better. Does help to relieve stress and anxiety. But another thing that I find quite useful as well, if I know when you're awake you never really sleep, do you? But for me, sleep hypnosis is really good. Meditation, yoga, all those sort of holistic things are all very good to help relieve stress and anxiety. So I'd recommend that to anybody, as well as the like you say, the herbal remedies.
Well, I could agree with you on those things, definitely. I might surprise a few people that I've spoken to in the recent past, but I did yoga for probably about 12, 18 months, and I stopped for various reasons, which I'm really annoyed about, and I am restarting at the moment. And I improved quite dramatically. I was never, I wasn't one of those sort of lithe, tanned yoga types that you see on beaches somewhere, but I was actually, you could tell I was doing yoga. It wasn't like some bloke rolling around on a carpet. I was actually I was at the beginning, but it's amazing how quickly you can improve, even if you're starting from a low level of fitness. I was doing sort of headstands and all sorts of stuff, which I did in a group. I started going to a yoga group, which was about 90%, 95% women, but that was no bad thing. So my yoga experience, limited though it was very positive. So if you don't do yoga, and especially guys that are listening to this might be going, oh my God, but it's brilliant. It's really good.
It's very good. It's good for your mental state as well.
Yeah, I think I'm in my 50s, and I'm not really very fit at all, and it had a massive effect on my fitness and my well-being. And it's basically just, from a physical perspective, it's just a lot of stretching, isn't it? But it has
a massive effect though, doesn't it?
Oh God, yeah, I felt
it
so
really
much
does
better.
Give you a very sort of slightly elongated, very much more muscly body in a very short space of time, just from stretching.
Yeah, it's even some of the basic poses. I won't go on for yoga forever, but I really am a convert to it, and I stopped doing it because I was doing a lot of travelling and I found it difficult to fit in. But
that's when I started.
Right. Well, I'm starting again. Well, I was on boats and trying to do it whilst I didn't look totally incompetent. Trying to do it either on a boat or on the dock in public. I wasn't brave enough to do either of those things. Had I looked like Brad Pitt, then maybe I would have vanity wouldn't have got the better of me. But no, so I stopped doing it for that reason. But I could definitely recommend it. So have 20 or 30 minutes in the morning. That's what I used to do. 30 minutes every morning.
Yeah,
a bit of
or
meditation.
even start with 10. Start with.
Yeah.
There are loads of videos out there on YouTube. I'm thinking just start with 10 minutes, and it's a really positive thing to do.
And so I would definitely recommend that. So try yoga and meditation as well. I definitely 10 minutes, 20 minutes of meditations is a really good way of clearing your head, especially when you're worrying about stuff. Clearing your head and just refocusing yourself on what you can actually do, rather than, because there's a lot of stuff we're worrying about which we can't on a day-to-day basis do much about. We might be able to do stuff in the
I can only meditate when I'm walking, but that's fine because I've realised that that's when I have to do it now.
I'm walking as well. I regularly do a morning walk, and I think that clears my head, and I find that a good way of doing. So
I think just getting outside and being sort of out in nature and just fresh air, just those small things make a difference.
Yeah, they do. I've noticed that myself. Even when you don't want to go for a walk, you just think, no, I'm just going to do 10 minutes through. We've got a little wood where we are. So 10 minutes through the woods and round, and then back up the hill, and you're just transformed, really.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Even if it's because, of course, winter's coming and all the rest of it. But even then, I think even if it's raining and it's unpleasant, just put a decent coat on. And a 15, 20 minute blow the cobwebs away. It makes a big difference. Yeah. And it's always easier said than done when you're in a bit of if you're a bit low. But I think if you make a habit of it, I read a book about habits a few years ago. In fact, I've read 2 or 3 books about habits, which is an interesting topic in its own right. And you really only have to do something regularly. Just make yourself do it regularly for 30 days. And everyone's been there before now. Gym being Claire, you going to the gym. Once you're in the habit of going to the gym, it's actually no hardship, is it? It sounds to me like you do quite a bit of gym work anyway, but yeah.
I always find, for me, the best workouts are the ones where you're actually sitting on the sofa. You finished work an hour or so ago and you're sitting there and it's 7:30. Oh God, I've really got to go to the gym. I really can't be bothered. And then actually they're the best sessions. They are the best. And you leave and you feel exhilarated and you feel, I'm glad I went. But, even if you really don't want to go, just making that move and getting off the sofa and leaving the house just makes all the difference. But I definitely think, doing something positive for you that makes you feel better physically, mentally, that's something that releases those feel-good hormones. It's really important that we all do those things because it's going to be a long, dark winter. It's going to be quite possibly a very miserable winter, with all the things around the corner. But, we've got to really sort of try and, do all those positive things that that make us feel good.
Yeah.
And I think, again, with the connecting, if we are locked out of hospitality, then we make our own hospitality. And that's why connecting is so important. So you don't feel alone through these next few months because people will make their own fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it all boils back to the same sort of stuff, doesn't it? So we've possibly from I won't say chemical, but I suppose it is chemical, but homeopathic assistance, if you like, in terms of various proven. I would say that, by the way, look into this yourself because I'm not going to be recommending stuff that you stick down your throat any more than anyone else. But Flora, obviously, you've got some experience of it. Look into it. What was it called again? I always forget it. Was it St. John's Wort?
St. John's Wort.
Which is obviously well known.
WORT, yeah.
Right. It's well known. I know it's well known and what have you. But by all means, look into that. I'm sure there's other stuff as well. Is anything else, Flora, that while we're on that subject of?
Well, I would just say, again, this is just what I find really helpful. As I said, I just make a list of all the things. I explore my local area, which still haven't done a huge amount of, but all those small things, which fits in with exercise, I suppose you can go walking. Make a list of all the things that you like. And then, as I said, when you're feeling a bit fed up, just pull something out of it and do it. It's really hard to think of things to do when you're in that frame of mind. But if you've got something there already, and reading. Use the time. I used to hate winter. I used to get really down just thinking about. I used to hate autumn actually, because that meant winter was coming. But now I really love it. I really like those cold, crisp days, and I think it's called reframing, isn't it? Where you look at things in a completely different way. So I think if you can try and embrace the days, and sort of really try and get into winter with, silly things like hot chocolates and walking, and just try and make the best of it. And as long as you've got other people, which is, I'm going back to standing in the park again, I just think it's so important that people link up with other people, because it's going to make it so much easier for everybody.
Claire, anything else that helps you on that side of things, practical stuff?
No, I mean, like I said, I think things like, with the threat of 60,000 flu deaths, and we know that they're going to be playing on that. But then you look at the headlines for the last 10 years, and it's always been the same. The NHS is overwhelmed, and nothing's ever any different, but people have very short memories, don't they? One thing I did last winter was I bought myself from Holland and Barrett a bit of free advertising there for Holland and Barrett, an immunity bundle, which had garlic capsules in it. It's got vitamin D. What else did it have? Echinacea.
Yeah.
So something like that, just to sort of help boost your own immunity. I mean, thankfully, last winter, I managed to get through it relatively unscathed. No colds, nothing. So things like that are definitely helpful. Even just basic things like eating healthier, getting your 5 a day and all of that, and drinking plenty of fluids. Just basically just taking care of yourself. It doesn't take a lot, really, does it? Like I say, a bit of exercise, healthy eating should be, more than...
Yeah, all of that creates the right mindset, doesn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely. Sort of get you through it. Yeah.
I mean, that's where you start talking cliches, but they're cliches for a reason, aren't they? Sort of, healthy mind, healthy body, and all this sort of stuff. It is definitely, it can be either a virtuous cycle or a destructive one, can't it? I mean, I've certainly been... in different times in my life, I mean, not in any desperate sort of life-destroying way, but you have your highs and your lows, don't you? If you lose a job or whatever it happens to be, you break up in a relationship, and I'm old enough now to have experienced those things and to know that you can go one or two ways. You can either most of us will feel sorry for ourselves for a little while and lick your wounds, but then there comes a point, at some point, you have to just say, right, okay, shake yourself and start doing those things that you should be doing, going for that walk, going to the gym, working on improving yourself, looking for the new job or whatever it is. You've got to put yourself in the right frame of mind. So
I think as you get older as well, I think you realise that there are highs and lows to life, and that if you're on a low, you'll come out of it again.
Yes.
And it's that experience. So in some ways you can almost embrace the lows and think, okay, well, I'm going through a bad patch. I know it's going to take a couple of days, and I'm going to come out the other side of it. And that experience of doing that, at times through your life, you do know that you will come out, and you can start to tune into your body and your mental state and your feelings, and you can almost feel yourself. And actually, when I do that, it pulls me out of it quicker, because I know I'm going to come out of it. It kind of makes me come out of it quicker.
There's that saying, isn't there, as well? You've survived 100% of your worst days.
Yes,
that's your way of it, isn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely. And this too will end. There's lots of very pertinent sort of phrases and sayings which all resonate with us because we know they're true. So I mean, I think that's definitely worth bearing in mind. And yes, I think what you said, Flora, about using the winter. I mean, if you can have get you in the mindset of actually being proactive and doing stuff and taking control, because I think a lot of people stress, which is really a lot of what we're talking about, I think here, and what that leads to is driven largely, as I understand it, no expert, by being worried about stuff that you don't feel you've got any control over. The stuff that certainly I thrive in a high stress environment when I'm sailing, for example. because I really love that, but it's because I feel comfortable that I mean, as much as you can be in the sea, I'm in control. When you're on the edges of control, no matter whether that be something like that or in work, or, if you're worried about your employer, for example, bringing in a mandate that means that you're going to lose your job, or you're going to be threatened with losing your job, well, you can only do so much, and that might be that you concentrate on improving your skill sets now. So you might think, well, maybe in 3 months' time, I'm going to have that difficult discussion with my employer, or sooner than that. But in that 3 months, what can I do to make myself more valuable to the next employer? So that might be just improving your mindset and becoming, a totally positive, attractive person in every way. Or it might be, doing that course. I mean, for example, now a lot of night courses are starting, aren't they? September, October.
Well, the winter's a great time to get involved on some kind of course, definitely. Yeah.
And online as well, of course. You
Stay
can do lots
focused.
online now. So no, I think you can use it. Yeah, you get your task list. I've got a long task list of stuff to do in the garden and stuff to do around the house, and I'm the worst person for delaying and putting it off. But I think you have to just discipline yourself. And of course, once you've had one win in the morning, and I read this somewhere, and it's very true. Probably Jocko Willink or something like that. If you know him, ex-Navy SEAL, it was a very man's podcast, but. He's a very self-motivated person, and he gets up at something like 4 o'clock every morning and tweets the photograph of his alarm clock every morning, so that that's full accountability. All his followers know. If he oversleeps, all his followers know, so he doesn't do it. He's in the gym at 5, and he works out for an hour and a half, and then he goes off and does this. And very motivating guy, very full on.
Well, he's putting me to shame. I'm 30 in the gym. I don't think so.
He puts pretty much everyone to shame, I think. But the point is, his sort of kind of view. It might not be him that said it, but it was that start the day with a win, and if that win is not to hit the snooze button on your alarm, which is something I am very because I work from home. It's one thing that I'm very easy to do. Don't hit the snooze button, jump in the shower, get down the gym, go and do whatever, and have a small win. Meditate, whatever it is you're going to do that's going to be proactive, do it, and that sets you in a positive mindset for the day. Then you're more likely to go to the gym later. You're more likely to read that chapter of that book that you were going to do. Anyway, I'm talking too much, but that was...
And also just start doing something. Even if you don't feel like it, just start it. And you'll probably find that you'll continue it. Carry on.
Yes, absolutely.
Until it's finished.
I think so. Momentum. Get started. Get out of the pressure.
And I think the key things are connect with people, embrace the winter. So rather than approaching it with a sense of doom and gloom and sadness, embrace it. Look at it in all its sort of beauty, and try and look at it from that perspective, and really, really get into it. And just make sure you've got a list of nice things to do, so when you're feeling down, you can just look at them and go, actually, I'm going to do that. That'll make me feel a bit better today, even if it's lying on the sofa and watching a film.
Get a list of of good films.
One thing we've just done as well, as our group, I mean, our common law workshop that we do on a Thursday evening, it started off with 30 people max. We did a head count on Thursday night, and there were 103 people there.
God.
So it's got to the point now where we've grown out of the room that we're in this pub. We've taken over another room now. We've set television screens up so that people in there can watch it as well. And it's just amazing. But there's a whole group of us. We have fun with what we do as well. I mean, we've just organised what we've called an Awakened Souls evening at the end of the month, where we're all going to get together. It's just no one's going to talk about what's going on in the world. It's purely a social. There'll be food, there'll be drink, we'll be dancing. And it's just things like that we're thinking about doing, like a Christmas night. We've already got Christmas Eve planned. We're all doing stuff together, New Year's Eve. So the whole group, we're all getting together and doing a lot socially to sort of keep our spirits high through the winter months, and plan lots of things to look forward to.
And that is why standing apart is so important.
Exactly.
Go to your nearest standing apart, do it.
Absolutely. Well, you can see where it's all leading back to. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So So practical. We've talked about the importance of connecting. We've talked about practical stuff and given a few ideas. Most people will, will know a lot of this, but it's actually starting it, isn't it? And it's so easy to just fall into lethargy and get down in the dumps, especially if you live on your own or you live with a family that doesn't share your concerns, and they're all happily going about life thinking that nothing is changing, and you are convinced that it is. So just for that reason,
I think that's harder.
Yeah,
that's harder than actually being on your own, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think very, very. I mean, I'm quite lucky in that respect, but I think very difficult, and especially if it's very close family, or your partner or your child or your mother or father or something like that. It must be very difficult. So
our kids think we've actually joined a cult.
I mean, the trouble is, looking at it from the outside, I think you do have to be careful because it's so divisive, isn't it? Everything that's happening at the moment, and it's so polarizing. I think that's the word I'm thinking of. So polarizing. I can see that if you're from one side or the other, it's very easy to look at it. I mean, like a lot of people on our side of things will look at people that are masked up in shops still and walking around with gloves on. I saw still plenty in my local Waitrose with blue plastic gloves and
isn't
masks.
It depressing?
Oh, God. And you think, really? Still? But of course, they are being fed a very different narrative by a very powerful medium, on the TV. So I think I can see why people...
I think some compassion, I think, for those people that are still doing that, they've obviously been terrified out of their wits.
Yeah. And they're scared, and whatever the reasons are. And so I think, that it's worth a bit of empathy and a bit of... understanding of other, because as if they're friends or family, then obviously we all liked each other at one point. So it's I find the hardest thing, without getting too negative about this, I think the hardest thing with friends isn't that I don't still consider them nice people or even really friends. I haven't seen a lot of my friends for a while, but some of them I still see and talk to, and it's fine, and others I haven't, and it's fine. And some people, we're on a different sort of planets, really, at the moment. But it's more the fact of I don't know how you get over that in the longer term, because I suppose it depends what happens, doesn't it? If I'm proven to be a complete nutter and none of this actually happens that we're worried about, and it all goes back to normal, then I'd be delighted. But and I'd be...
Oh, me too. I'd love to be proved a nutter. That would be excellent. That would be the best Christmas present this year.
Yeah, I think we shall see. But anyway, so right, I'm conscious of time. So we've got connecting. We've got some practical stuff in terms of setting goals, setting yourself treats, improving yourself, using the time productively, keeping active. I would say not too much screen time. So don't sit in front of, which I'm terrible for at the moment. Don't sit in front of Twitter all the time, getting yourself into a whirlpool of depression and worry.
And I should have said as well, actually, have something to look forward to each day. Plan something for you to do or look forward to each day. It doesn't have to be a big thing, it can be a small thing, but just have something to look forward to, because that sort of leads you forward into the future rather than, as you said, in a pit of despair.
So daily planning, taking control again, we're talking about, aren't we? As much as you can.
Yeah, just making sure you've got something nice to do every day, and then something nice to do every weekend. Somewhere to go, someone to hang around with, something to make, whatever it is.
Okay. Even simple stuff. Yes, I would agree with all of that. All very good ideas. Claire, anything you do daily, or any ideas that you got that we haven't talked about, or I don't want to drop you on the spot, but if there's any, I'm conscious that I'm not going back to you quite as much. So anything specific that you wanted to address, other than
just to keep me motivated and positive. I mean, it's like I'll go through at the beginning of every week, and I think, right, okay, look at my week and see what I've got planned, and like you say, just have things to keep you motivated and keep you going. So like I'll be at the beginning of the week, I'll be like, right, I'm going to book this and this class, and I'm going to do that. And then I know that I've got my Thursday night where, the cult meeting, if you like, the common law workshop. But they're just those little things that it's just something to look forward to. I mean, okay, we spend an hour and a half of the evening in a classroom, but then afterwards, everyone has a drink and a chat, and it's all very sociable and lovely. And like you say, having those things to sort of keep you motivated, and like you say, things to look forward to.
Don't have an empty day. I think don't get up to an empty day.
No.
Make sure it's full of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So focus. Don't allow yourself to drift, which is good advice at any time, I think. But I something else which just occurred to me, which I wanted to chip in, and I've tried to do this a few times, and I don't think it works for me, but it might work for other people. And that is to keep a journal or a log or a diary. Now, I tend to find that if I'm a bit blue, then the last thing I want to do is write in a diary. So it's never worked for me. But I know a lot of people swear by it because they say it gives you an understanding of how you work. So you can read it back over time, and you can see the triggers to how you can see yourself sort of by the way you're talking to the diary. You can see it might only be 3 sentences a day or something, but it allows you two things. It allows you to monitor your own state of mind and to see when you're being negative, and then how you sort of went down that spiral for a week of hitting the snooze button and not going to the gym or whatever it is. So there's that. So it's good from that perspective. Also, it's from a Stoic perspective. I'm quite keen on Stoicism. I don't practice it as much as I should, but I do like Stoicism. It allows you to count your blessings, to make a note at the end of the day of why you should be grateful. So gratitude is really important. And
that is, yes, I completely agree. And I would not do the journaling, but you've just prompted me. I do actually have a book that has space in it, and it's just 3 great things that happened today. And it's
if you mentally do it at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, you can just you can think of the 3 good, and some of it's really silly, like the birds were singing and it was a really beautiful clear blue sky. So I'm thankful for that. So you can pick out even the tiniest things from your day.
Yeah, I mean, I think as well, it depends on, obviously you need to, it might be that you've had a good, I think the other thing is, and it's really getting, I'm starting to sound a bit of a hippie now, but things like doing a good deed. I mean, how many times do you go out? I mean, this probably, I'm a grumpy old sod now, so it happens less and less, but you always feel better about the day I do anyway, if you go out. The other day, for example, went to the shops, came out, got in the car. It'd only been 5 minutes. I'd got 35 minutes or whatever it was left on my car ticket. Drove out the car park. There's a lady walking down the other way, a little old lady going to the machine, wound the window down. Do you need a parking ticket? Yes, took the parking ticket. Nice and simple, no hardship to anybody. Hardly going to win the Nobel Peace Prize for it, but just that little interaction. Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you very much. And it just makes you feel a bit more part of society, frankly.
Yeah, absolutely right. And connecting again, Sam.
Yes, connecting again. There is a theme. So
well, one thing I think is important as well is we aren't all superhuman. We do have bad days, and rather than just embrace it. And if you want to have a day where you feel really you want to cry, just cry, get it out your system, talk to somebody, but just embrace it, own it, and then move on. I think it's important to do that as well.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult.
I mean, obviously, I'm not going to cry, but I mean, he says, but no, I'm joking. But I mean, I think you're right.
You need to follow.
I think you need to. I think you're right. Sometimes you do need to have a bit of a reset,
release.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my cry might be. I've been thinking for about 6-9 months of taking up Krav Maga, which is a particularly vicious and effective type of self-defense. So perhaps that'll be my release rather than sobbing into a pillow. But horses for courses. It's a Russian. It's an Israeli. I think a Russian-Israeli Secret Service specially designed for self-defense. So rather than, I haven't started it yet, but rather than rather than, say, doing something like either Tai Chi or going into something like Taekwondo or Karate or Judo or whatever, Krav Maga is specifically to defend yourself. So
That's a good.
it's the sort of thing that if you were living in an inner city as a young man or a young woman, and you wanted to look after yourself or have a better chance of looking after yourself without carrying a weapon, which would be a very bad idea, because obviously...
Is it?
Well, let's put it... I have to say that because it would get you in an awful lot of trouble, but I mean, you have to make your own judgment on that. But at the end of the day, if you know enough about Krav Maga, you can do... It's all basically stuff that involves debilitating... debilitating? No. Anyway, basically hurting the person that's attacking you. So, it's all about chopping people in the throat and jabbing their eyes out, all this sort of stuff. You don't actually do it for real, obviously, but it's effective self-defense. So I was thinking about doing that. So if you're a bloke and you don't fancy the idea of crying yourself to sleep, because this is the toxic masculinity coming out, the Tony Soprano, then you might want to go and learn how to beat the crap out of a pillow or something. But anyway.
That's a great idea, Sam, actually. Yeah, go and do some really physical stuff like that.
Yeah, I think a release is a good idea. Whatever it happens to be, emotional release, physical release, all the rest of it. So we've done connecting, we've given some practical ideas, which I think revolve around doing stuff, just getting
Staying
started.
Occupied.
Yeah.
Staying occupied. Yeah.
Some planning. We talked about meditation, yoga, and other physical bits and pieces. Screen down, limiting your screen time, perhaps, and your social media time, because I do think social media can be extremely toxic. So perhaps you have to stay, if you want to stay abreast of stuff, then obviously you're going to want to spend some time on media. But I would recommend try to detox, maybe at weekends or something like that. Just get off social media or during the week, or at some point taking some time off. Something which I very rarely do, but I'm going to try and start doing. Any other ideas on that
I think
subject?
it's what people know, but sometimes you just need to hear it, don't you?
Yeah.
I think we all know what we should be doing, don't we?
Yeah.
Putting it into practice and
yeah.
Well, it's motivated me because I mean, as you say, I think all of us adults and probably know all of this, and it all makes sense. It's a bit like going on a diet, isn't it? Which is another thing that I'm definitely doing at the moment. It's all well and good. You know what you shouldn't eat. You know what you shouldn't do. You shouldn't sit down and drink that bottle of wine or whatever it is in an evening. Sometimes you can do it, but you should be doing it on a regular basis for a variety of different reasons. But we all know that, but it's easy to get lost in that spiral and just end up taking the easy route. And getting up off the sofa and going down the gym is a far better use of your time. Right. Well, we've hit the hour. Was there anything either of you wanted to mention before we sort of say goodbye to people?
I've got one thing. I want to plug these guys actually because they're amazing. They came along and they did a gig at Awake pub on Saturday. There's a band called Jam for Freedom. They're on Twitter. They've got a website. They're largely funded by sort of donations. They're supported by people like Van Morrison and Eric Clapton. They've been going around the country during lockdown, touring sort of awakened venues, pubs, and that kind of thing over the last few months. And they're just, they were doing all the protests last summer when we were in lockdown, and then when everything sort of opened back up, they've been going around. They'll do free gigs for you, but they just ask for donations. Now, if you know of a venue in your area, probably great for the Libertarian drink thing as well, but they're definitely worth sort of connecting with and getting them on board. That if you're looking to do a few sort of fun things over the autumn and winter months,
okay, Jam for Freedom.
Getting involved with them.
And what sort of music do they generally do?
All different stuff. I mean, they've been doing. I mean, we've had them along a couple of times now, and they've done sort of like open mic evenings where we've got a couple of very talented singers in our circle, which is great, and they've got up and had a sing song, and it's just really nice. And it'd be nice if we could get behind people like that who've been brave enough to sort of put themselves out in the coalface during the last 18 months. But yeah, they're an amazing bunch of guys.
Okay, well, I'll put a link again in the description below here. So click on that link if you want to find out a bit more about Jam for Freedom. And Flora, anything else from you?
Only to remind people that it was only a week ago, wasn't it, where everything started to look like it was shutting down, like the internet and Instagram and Facebook and all of those things went offline. That might give people a little taste of what things could be like if they don't connect with people in real life. So I just want to reiterate, if you haven't yet connected with people in real life and you've been thinking about it, do it now. Do it as soon as you possibly can. And then you've got your tribe, as Claire said, and they'll see you through winter.
Absolutely. It is very easy. We get used to, I'm no longer on Facebook or WhatsApp or whatever, but it's very easy to think you can contact people easily, and then suddenly when you lose a service like that, you realise that you can't contact them. That's the only way you had to contact them. So yes, absolutely that. And
if it goes horribly wrong, I've suggested to people, look, if all communications go down, meet at your local stand in the park at like 9 o'clock the next day or something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we've done. Yeah.
I think that's a very good idea, because yes, the problem, unfortunately, is that you cannot trust. If in the nuclear era that I grew up in the 80s, the 70s and the 80s, you had this weird, this idea that if there was a nuclear war, for example, everyone would be listening to the radio to what the state was telling you to do. But unfortunately now, that's probably the last thing you want to be doing, is listening to what the state wants you to do, because they're kind of the problem. So yes,
I think, do the opposite.
Yes, exactly.
Do the opposite.
So one reminder for everybody. So we're at the beginning we're obviously in the autumn. We're not. We're at the beginning of these short days and dark, rainy mornings and evenings and stuff. So obviously things can creep up on you. So perhaps make a plan, as you were both saying, and try and stick to that plan as best you can, and not beat yourself up too much if you lapse from time to time. And also remember that on the 21st of December, I think this year, that's the shortest day.
Yeah.
So after the 21st of December, so from Christmas really, it's getting better. So we've only got a few weeks. How many weeks is it till Christmas now? It's not much, is it? About 9 weeks or something? So I think it's something like 9 weeks to Christmas.
9,
yes.
Yeah.
So you've got 9 weeks to Christmas. So you can push through 9 weeks, okay, and then it's going to be getting better. The days are going to get longer. It's obviously going to be chilly, but those bracing country walks and what have you will be all the better for it. So
embrace it.
Embrace and yes, focus, and only worry about the stuff that you can control, and concentrate on what you can improve about yourself. Those would be my wise words, and I'll try and stick to them over the next 6 months and come out the other side a better person for it, able to do my handstands again in yoga and show off. So
can we have photographic evidence of this, please?
If I get to that point, the 6 months getting there, I'm definitely not recording for anybody. But if I can get back to that level, yes, I will post photographic evidence. But, okay, well, Claire and Flora, thank you very much. I hope that those people that have tuned in found something useful out of all of this. And if you hadn't gathered by now, we're just emphasising the importance of in real life connections, having a plan, keeping positive, don't be too hard on yourselves, and there's only so much you can control. Thanks both for your time.
You're welcome.
If there's nothing else, we'll call it. I know you've got lots of other stuff to do, so appreciate your time this evening, and we'll speak again on other subjects, I'm sure, in the coming months.
Thank you, Sam, and maybe I'll see you in December.
Absolutely, I think so, at the third Wednesday. And thank you, Claire.
Thank you.
Bye, Claire.
Bye.